my channel. My name's Emily and this is my channel that I've created to talk all things wedding and just to show you a little bit about my life. I'm really interested in watching other people's videos, so I thought why not create my own, and hopefully you all will enjoy it too. So if you didn't know, I recently got engaged. Well, it was just under a year ago now, as many of you know, it's a very exciting time. I thought what I would do today is just talk to you a little bit about mine and my fiance Jack's story and how we first met. So we are now 23. We first met in year 7, so when I think you're about 11, 12 when you go to secondary school. So we were in each other's form, and we kind of knew of each other. We didn't really speak. We kind of had our own groups. I was with the girls, he was with the boys. Didn't really chat, didn't really know each other. But if we saw each other out, we would know who they were. So we went through school life just being like that, really, not really speaking, just knowing each other, knowing of each other. And then obviously in year 11, everyone then either goes off to sixth form or they go to college or they do an apprenticeship, and Jack and I didn't do very well in our GCSEs, so we decided, I don't think we had to, I think we decided to stay on an extra year at sixth form and retake some of our GCSEs to make sure that we have the 5A to C. So there weren't many of us that actually had to do that. There were only about 4 or 5 of us. So it ended up in year 12 that we were in every single class together, all day at school, obviously Monday to Friday. And we just got chatting really and just kind of had quite a lot in common, made each other laugh, and we used to come home and then MSN back in those days. We would chat of an evening and over the weekend, and it would just end up we would talk to each other every single day. And I remember it was, I don't know, maybe August time, I said to my friend, I really like this boy. And one evening on MSN, him and his brother were playing on FIFA, and I used to just sit and chat to them while they were playing on FIFA on MSN, and his brother kind of helped him pluck up the courage to ask me out. So we started dating when we were 16, and then, like I say, we've both had small relationships before. We didn't think it was anything serious. It was just one of those, you know, girlfriend, boyfriend, young romances, and we kind of just went from there. And the years went on. He then went off to college to do a public service course. I stayed at sixth form and we stayed together. We were chatting, we would see each other over an evening, we'd spend a couple of hours together. When I learned to drive, I then went and picked him up from college some days, and it just kind of carried on from there. And we would talk about getting married, and for me it was such a big thing. You know, I've always wanted to get married since I was a little girl. I used to, with my friends, make pacts, you know, you'll be my bridesmaid, you'll be my maid of honour, and that kind of thing. And we would sit, I would be obsessed with weddings. I would sit for hours watching wedding videos. I used to watch Bride Wars like every single weekend, because I just loved it, and that's just one thing that I've always loved. We would chat about it, but we wouldn't really, you know, we wouldn't think it was going to happen. So just over a year ago, we booked to go to St Lucia for Jack's mum's 50th birthday. So at this time I was starting to get more excited. Lots of our friends were getting engaged and getting married, and it just excited me. So I then started to become more and more obsessed with it. I had my 2 friends, Sophie and Sarah, and we would look at engagement rings and weddings and things like that for hours on end. And we went to St Lucia, had the most amazing holiday, and then we were on the beach on the 2nd of November 2018, and I really wanted to go in the sea. Jack, his mum and his dad were there, we were just chilling, we'd spent the day by the pool, and we decided to go and watch the sunset in the evening because we'd done it the night before. We really enjoyed it. So we went down to the beach. I really wanted to go in the sea, but they were all a bit reluctant. So I just walked down to the water's edge, which wasn't very far. I could still see them. And Jack came down next to me and he kind of bottled it. So we didn't go in the scene, we walked back up. At this point, Jack's dad was filming me and I was like, please get that camera out of my face. I didn't know why, and then I thought, this is a bit strange. Anyway, then Jack sat down on the sunbed and he was like, just give me a hug. So I hugged him, and it was one of those awkward hugs that like last forever, and he wouldn't let go, and I was like, okay, you can let go of me now. And then as I stood back up, he then got down on one knee and pulled a ring out and asked me to marry him, and I was in shock. I snatched the ring out of his hand and looked at it and said yes. There are a couple of couples that I think saw, and they kind of came over after and were like, congratulations, but for us it was perfect. We watched the most incredible sunset, and it was just the most amazing day. He hadn't told anyone, so he'd sat down with my dad in July just before my birthday and asked his permission, which I'm so happy about. That was always one thing for me, is that my parents would be happy. So the fact that he sat down and got my dad's permission before he did anything really meant a lot to me. So he told my mum, my dad, his mum, his dad, his brother, because his brother was at home the weekend before, and I think that was it. So nobody knew. So then I had like 20% of my phone battery, and I was like, I need to ring your sister. I don't know why, but I needed to ring his sister first. So I FaceTimed his sister, and she just thought we were messing about. She thought we were joking, which obviously we weren't. So that went down really well. I then FaceTimed my sister, and she was in a nightclub. So we were like, it was like 5 p.m. in St. Lucia. It was 9 or 10 p.m. in England. So FaceTime my sister, couldn't get hold of her. I was like, you need to come out of the club now and FaceTime me. So it was chucking it down with rain. This was November time, so it was quite chilly in England. She came outside of the club, and I FaceTimed her, and I just kind of showed her the ring, and she could not believe it. She was so overwhelmed, bless her heart. And then she couldn't find her boyfriend Luke, so I was like, well, you need to go and find Luke so we can tell him. She went, and then next I FaceTimed my parents, and obviously my parents knew, so my mum's like, oh, what's that? And I was like, Mum, you know. So FaceTimed them. My nan had gone into hospital a couple of weeks before we went away, so I wanted to FaceTime her. So what I did is I FaceTimed my cousin and my auntie and uncle and showed them, and they're all really excited. And I asked them then to FaceTime my nan, because I don't know why I didn't just FaceTime her myself, but I didn't anyway. So they FaceTimed my nan, and I was on FaceTime to them, so they showed, and I showed my nan. She was really happy. I didn't FaceTime my grandparents because I didn't have FaceTime, so I just called my parents and sent them, my other grandparents, and just sent them a picture, and they were really overwhelmed. And then we went back to the room because my phone was literally about to die, and we were both shaking, and I was just so happy. Then there was some Prosecco in the room for us, so we popped open the Prosecco. Then I thought, well, I need to FaceTime my best friend. So I then FaceTimed my best friend Naomi, and she was also in a pub in England. So managed to get her to come out, and she FaceTimed, and that's when the tears started. She started crying, I was crying, Jack's parents were crying, Jack was crying, everyone was crying, just of happiness really. We're also happy because, you know, we've been together 6 years at this point, and it's something that I'd always dreamt of and always something that I'd wanted to happen. Back into our room, had a shower, and because it was so hot, my fingers were swollen. So my ring fit, but it didn't, like, it felt tight. So I took it off for the, while I had a shower, and put it in the safe. And then went for a really nice dinner at the Japanese, which we'd booked a couple of nights before, but I obviously didn't know why, so I just thought we were going there for a dinner, but it was because we got engaged. So we didn't tell anyone in the hotel because we didn't really need / want anyone else to know. So we had a really nice dinner, and then played a few card games, but because the time difference, we were just so tired by like 9 o'clock in the evening. So we then just went back to bed and went to sleep. And then the next day was the day that then I decided to post it online. and tell all of our family and friends back in the UK. So I took some photos of my ring and by the pool with my passport, because I'd looked previously on Pinterest at how to like announce that you've been engaged on holiday. So I had some sort of ideas. Include those pictures now. So got so many likes and messages, and everyone was so lovely and, you know, all very happy for us. We enjoyed the rest of our holiday, and we obviously then came home, and we haven't had an engagement party just because that's not really our kind of thing. We live with my parents at the moment, so we are saving for a house. So our engagement's going to be quite a long engagement. I think altogether it's been about 4 years. The wedding is booked. The venue's booked. We are having a church ceremony, but the church isn't booked yet because we kind of thought that didn't really need to happen just yet. But we are then going to a venue afterwards, and that's all booked, which is a lovely hotel in our local area. So yeah, very exciting. So that's kind of our story, how we got together, how we met, and our engagement story. If you check out my Instagram, there's also lots of pictures on there from the holiday in St Lucia, and pictures of the engagement and different things like that. So in the next couple of years, obviously there'll be more and more wedding content coming your way. It is going to be on a budget because, like I say, we are saving for a house. So if you're interested in weddings on a budget, or how we're going to plan our wedding, we will be sharing that all with you. It's also nice for us to go back and watch later on as well. So yeah, like and subscribe this video, leave us any comments, and see you in the next one.